Welcome to the Leadership at Work Module 2 review. This is Part 3, Effective Recruitment. Let's join Robert Ree to learn about effective recruitment now. So Robert, tell us about recruitment and effective selection and where it sits on that leader, manager, operator, technician spectrum.
Recruitment and selection is a management activity, arguably the most important of all of the management activities.
Yes, okay, that makes sense. Remember that a manager is someone who achieves results through the efforts of others. And if that's the case, our first and most important step is to get the right people. It's also done, arguably, not as well as it could be. Why is this?
The reason for this is there are 12 steps in best practice recruitment and selection, and many of these steps are missing in day-to-day busy workplaces.
You're right, Robert. We see so many organisations getting this recruitment process wrong. In fact, a lot of organisations don't even have recruitment processes in place. So can you tell us a bit about step 1 in the process?
The first step in best practice recruitment and selection is job and workplace analysis. So when a vacancy occurs, we don't automatically replace that position with the same type of position. It is an opportunity to look around to see, does this position need to be replaced at all? Could we combine this role into other jobs in the organisation or in the team? Or could technology or other techniques make this job one that we do not need to replace in a full-time position?
Okay, good.
Once this analysis has taken place, we can then write the job description, which must accurately reflect the current situation, what is required, what are the tasks, what are the duties, what are the accountabilities, and what are the responsibilities. The third step in the process is the one most often missing, which is to do a job profile. We use the DISC behavioural profiling system to understand what are the behavioural requirements of this job and what are the characteristics that a person needing to fulfil this job would need to display. That information then goes into the key selection criteria.
Robert, we get lots of questions around key selection criteria. What's the best way to represent it?
The key selection criteria is best displayed in a pie chart, showing what is the proportion of this position that requires skills, attributes, knowledge, experience, behavioural attributes, qualifications, etc. That will vary from job to job, and the selection panel needs to spend some time working out what are the key areas in the key selection criteria and what are the proportions of skill versus behaviour versus qualifications, etc.
Great, so that's that selection wheel we talk about on the second day of Module 2. What's the next step?
The next step is the job advertisement, and that should reflect the key points from the key selection criteria. It's also an opportunity for the organisation to promote its brand. The screening and shortlisting should be done strictly adhering to the key selection criteria. And we are now ready for our first interview. So we'll notice that there are 6 steps before the first interview, and these steps are crucial in the selection of the most appropriate candidate.
Even for seasoned interviewers, there's a lot of confusion around the interview process. Can you give us a bit of a hand on how we structure our interview processes?
In the first interview, all candidates should be asked the same questions, and those questions should be targeted towards the key selection criteria as decided previously by the selection panel. All of the members of the panel should independently rate each interviewee according to the key selection criteria.
Okay, so after that first interview, we make a shortlist. What happens then?
When it is decided to bring back the shortlisted candidates for the second interview, this is the time to introduce the DISC behavioural profiling system again, and the final candidates should do the DISC behavioural profile.
Okay, so what's the advantage of doing the profile now?
That allows the panel to make a comparison between the job profile and the personal profile. That also allows more targeted interviewing at the second interview and more targeted reference checking. Two very important steps. Second interview and possibly the subsequently third interview to give both the organisation and the candidates an opportunity to really discuss the position and the requirements and the expectations of the position, but also allows the candidate to question the organisation to see that the culture and the leadership are according to what this person requires.
It's really sound advice, and it's a really well structured process. It allows both the candidate and the organisation to explore and exchange ideas and thoughts, and of course, then work towards the right fit for both parties. Robert, thanks for your time. That brings us to the end of part 3 of our Module 2 review. Part 4 is the use of DISC in performance planning. We'll see you there.